Hey guys, it is me, Tanya, founder of the TNG Designs Group Limited. I hope you're keeping safe and well. Now, this is the third video within the representation series, and you know, representation is truly dear and close to my heart for many reasons that I've already shared. But just know that not only is it super key, it is very important for the growth of your brand, what it is that you're standing for, and more specifically for the awareness that you're trying to build around the cause that you're trying to make known. Now, I say all that to say because in this particular video, we're going to be talking about how representation shapes your identity and why it's actually more than just visibility. There's so much more to it. I'm going to be covering that in this specific video. But before you get stuck into it, as always, please make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel. Yeah, folks, I share so much content just like this, but at the same time, it's content that's always going to be relevant to you and your brand, and it's content that's always going to get you to think outside the box just a little bit more. And it's content just like this that will help you to take action. Because I'm not just about just saying all these words. I'm not just about just helping you to feel motivated to just keep going and to keep moving forwards, right, with your brand. I'm about making sure that you actually take action to level up your brand. Now, I know there's so many branding specialists, so many branding experts out there, but what I do over here on this channel is to help you to move forwards and to equally help you to know that you are an example of the way forwards yourself. And more specifically, you are more than what you see. Now, stick around to the very end because I show you other examples as to how you can make sure that you create that level of momentum that keeps you going, because again, it's all about action, it's all about moving forwards. So folks, let's get stuck into this video. So as I said, we're going to be talking about the idea of how representation shapes identity, okay? And more specifically, know that also it's just more than visibility. It's not just visibility alone. There's more to it. And when I say that there's more to it, always keep the bigger picture in mind. Now, you always know, right, that I'm forever talking about your VPV, your brand power of 3. Well, within that, you are always encouraged to know what your bigger picture is. Know what is the bigger mission, what is the bigger vision that you have, right? When you know that, keep that in mind, especially by way of representation, or especially by way of what we're going to be talking about here. Your bigger picture is how you're going to be able to shape not only your identity, but equally the idea or the area of value and validation. And that's the first thing. With value and validation, by way of keeping your bigger picture in mind. How are you helping others to feel valued and validated? Now, what I mean by that, when you're showcasing a source of representation where others see themselves in, or see that image of themselves, or see that image of their culture, or see that familiarity, right? When you are creating that value and validation and you're showing it in a positive light, you are literally valuing it and you are validating that level of diversity that people are seeing by way of representation. Now, I know I've just thrown a whole load of words at you just there, just now, but just know diversity, especially when it comes to representation, you know, all my previous videos with regards within this representation series talks about diversity. Diversity plays a huge role in representation and how you are showcasing diversity by way of really hitting home and nailing it with your audience that you're actually speaking to. Know who they are. This is why knowing your audience is super important. But you can only know your audience if you know what your VPV is. When you know what your VPV is, you know what your bigger picture is about. And when you know what that bigger picture is about, you know who you're speaking to and really why you're speaking to them. So, that being said, know how to value and validate your audience, and especially by way of their diversity. Now, the second area that you want to make sure that you're adhering to, and don't worry, by the way, folks, I'm going to share an example at the very end of this as well, just to bring it all home, right? To solidify this whole idea for you. So, going back to the idea of representation and how it shapes identity, know that the other area that you also need to make sure you're adhering to is the idea of image and pride. And I'm talking about the positive side of this, by the way. Now, when you are showing image and pride, this is how you show up, okay? This is the area in which you show up. This is how you are showing up to represent that culture, that identity, that level of diversity that you actually represent. For me, it's being a black woman. For me, it's also being a black female leader in my space, in my industry. So I'm showing up by showing up as me. I'm showing up in spaces where I typically would have, back in the day, probably shied away from because I didn't think that I actually deserved to be in those spaces, or maybe just didn't even know how to be in those spaces. But now with know-how, now with leveling up, and now with understanding my brand, understanding my VPV, my brand power of 3, I know the spaces that I want to be a part of. And I know the spaces in which I can now help others to see that, you know what, I've done it. I am doing it, and I'm still going to do it. And I'm going to find other spaces to be a part of. That being said, I know that there is now possibility. That being said, you should also know that there is possibility of a way forwards. You should also know that this can be done. So, by way of representing who you are culturally, by who you are as a gender, by who you are as a sexual orientation, by who you are as an ethnicity or race as well, how are you making sure that your messages, your examples of a way forward, your experiences, in fact, those are always also ways that you can show an example of a way forward. How are you making sure that all of that is being talked about and all of that is helping your audience to move forwards? Okay. Now, the third area that you need to pay attention to, I've literally just touched base on it, but it's the idea of motivating the move, right? When you're motivating the move, you are motivating the move forwards aspect. Now, motivation, as we all know, it literally does help people to move, right? They only can be motivated if they are seeing it, if they are listening to it, and if they are really hearing it. Because you can listen to things, but you don't necessarily hear it. And maybe I should actually say, if you're also receiving it. But again, you can only receive it if you're ready to receive it, and if you're ready to, or being put in the position to receive it, right? In a positive way, by the way, not forced to see the positioning of it. Now, being motivated to move happens in so many ways, but in the positive light, when you're motivated to move, you're motivated to move because you are sick and tired of the continuous motion of being stuck in the rut. Nobody wants to be stuck in a rut. Nobody wants to be stuck in a rut. People want to come out of the rut. You know, name me one person who's happy being in the rut. Not me. Not me at all. But at the same time, know that when you are stuck in that rut, that helps you to know that you're ready to move. And when people see themselves, when people adhere to when people get to understand or get to grips with the idea of being valued and validated, or know that their image and pride is actually being paid attention to by way of somebody else's journey, somebody else's experience, and somebody else's outcome as well, they are seeing that there is a way forwards. Now, I shared with you before, I'm going to share some examples. I have been sharing some examples right there, but let me give you this example. Depending on when you're actually watching this video, I was in that point of time where, for example, I was literally just, I'm over it. I was over it, meaning the work that I was doing, meaning the things that I'm putting out there, simply because I felt that I wasn't getting the results that I was looking for. But here's the thing. Here's the kicker. We all have our personal levels and personal goals, right? But know that you are more than what you see. Know that what you're doing is a hell of a lot more than what you're seeing. I was still sharing content. I was still putting that level of motivation that I still wholeheartedly believe in, and even to this day I still believe in. I was sharing content. I was working with clients. I am still working with clients. I am still doing these things. But at that point of time, even though those were things were happening, because of my own personal goals, I wasn't feeling like I was achieving anything until I received the validation that I was doing okay. I was doing pretty damn good, in fact, to the point I was actually given an award and being recognized for the work that I was doing. But I didn't feel it at the time. And sometimes, folks, you're out here doing what you're doing and you're not feeling like you're getting the results that you're looking for. but maybe the results that you're looking for aren't quite the results that you need in order to be able to make sure that you level up with your brand. Maybe the results that you're looking for in the areas that you're thinking you should be looking for them in, maybe they're not the right areas at all. In fact, the typical areas of growth that we look to, right, aren't necessarily the areas of growth that will actually benefit you properly. And here's what I mean by that. If you're looking for the typical areas of growth by way of finance, right? Finance will get you far, absolutely. However, there's an area of growth that many people overlook, and that's the area of connection. That's the area of relationship building. And to some, this may seem like, yeah, whatever, Tan. This may seem like a whole bunch of woo-woo, whatever. But the reality is the level of relationship, the level of connection is where you need to be growing. And that's the attention that you need to be able to put on in order to be able to shape your identity, to be able to shape the idea of representation, to be able to shape the idea of who your audience actually is and how you actually speak to them. Representation is a huge part to what it is that you're doing. Representation is a huge key to a lot of connections that you're also going to be making now moving forwards. So pay attention to those connections. People are watching you. People are understanding your journey, even when you don't feel like you understand it. Even when you don't feel like you're moving forwards within it. People are understanding you. People are hearing you, and people are paying attention. Just do more of it. Now, do more of it adhering to these areas. And do more of it adhering to the sections of tips and points that I was sharing in my previous videos as well. So when you do that, represent you, represent who you are, represent the people you are doing this for, represent the awareness that you are trying to build, all so that you can create those better connections, all so that you can actually build on the growth that you're really, really needing and looking for, and all so that you can create a level of awareness that's still congruent to your standards and your beliefs, to create that brand that levels up all the time when you are representing your cause. So, folks, I'm going to leave it there. There's a lot to think about there. There is a whole lot to think about. If there are things that you are stuck on, especially when it comes to representation, please reach out to me in the comment section below. There is still so much that I could cover with representation, but for now I'm going to leave it here until the time comes that I need to create another part of this series as well. So just know, representation matters. It is super important for you and your brand to adhere to the idea of representation, to keep showing up more specifically, to also keep building the awareness around your brand and why it is that you really, really do what you do. So folks, I'm going to leave it there. Please make sure you go ahead and like, subscribe to this channel. But before you go, as always, in order to be able to get to grips with what it is or how it is that you are showing your representation so you can actually shape your identity, remember, representation is way more than just visibility. You're creating a level of a way to move forward. So in order to be able to do that in a way that suits you, go ahead and click on the first link that's in the description box below this video. Tap on that link, fill in the details, and literally wait to make sure that you get these key principles that I really want to share with you. Now, there's 6 in total. These key principles are essentially like a checklist to be able to make sure that you're adhering to your values, adhering to your brand power of 3, but making sure that you are representing yourself and representing those who are actually watching you, even the ones in the background who are the whispering, excellent, keep going. Those people you are going to connect with even more so, but in a way that's going to be different now because you're helping them to see that there is a way forwards. Representation allows others to know that there is a way forwards and not only just see it. Representation also helps others to see that they are validated and they have a positive self-image, and equally also to know that guess what, they can thrive too, and they have the possibility to move forwards and be motivated to do so even more as well. So folks, go ahead and get your copy of those principles. Once again, like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you on the other side.